Hi everyone, I'm Sharon and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be creating an interactive magic iris card featuring a pair of sweet squirrel critters enjoying a cozy picnic whilst taking in a gorgeous deep red and hazy purple sunset that's off in the distance. Let's get started with a quick overview of the Lawn Fawn products that I used to create this card. The picnic accessories like the blanket and basket and the sentiment come from the Crazy Antics stamp set. I use the butterflies, blades of grass, and flight trails from Butterfly Kisses, and the hugging squirrels from Happy Hugs. The wine, baguette, and cheese trio come from Bicycle Built for You. I use the stitched hillside borders, the grassy hillside borders, the largest of the large stitched rectangle stackables, the Sunburst Backdrop, the magic iris, and finally, the magic iris add-on. I load up all of my images into my Misty stamping tool and ink up all of my stamps with some Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, which is an alcohol marker friendly ink. My Misty stamping tool holds the paper and stamps in place so that I can re-ink and re-stamp my images until I get the crisp and dark impression I like. Next, I color in my images using my Ohuhu alcohol brush markers. I use 2 shades of gray for my squirrels. I start with the lighter shade and I color in the entire body areas to saturate the paper. This allows for smoother blending. Afterwards, I use a darker shade of gray to add the shadows where I think they may be, such as along their backs and under the bottom of their tails. I'm still learning the art of coloring and blending with alcohol markers, but I do continue to practice, watch other crafters' coloring techniques, and I'm starting to develop my own coloring style. I find the Ohuhu alcohol brush markers to be of a good quality in terms of the tips of the markers remaining sharp, the markers being able to blend really well. There's a really wide variety of selection of colors, and the price point is a fraction of Copic markers. They are much less expensive, but I find the quality of the Ohuhu markers to be really good for my crafting needs at this time. I purchased my Ohuhu markers from Amazon.ca. If you wish to find out about the specific sets of markers that I've used, please see the description box below. I'm going to leave you now with some music as I continue on with my coloring. After I finish coloring all of my images, I use the coordinating dies and run everything through my die cutting machine. Next, I die cut a panel of Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock using the Magic Iris add-on. And then I run this same panel through the die cutting machine one more time using the Sunburst Backdrop to get this beautiful radiating stitching detail. Using the Grassy Hillside and the stitched Hillside border dies, I create two borders to ground my scene. On the stitched hillside, I ink blend Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide and Lucky Clover on the top edge. For the Grassy hillside, I use Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide and some Seedless Preserve Distress Oxide for the tips of the blades of the grass. I like the way this looks so much that I do the same for the top edge of the stitched hillside as well. Moving on to the Magic Iris add-on panel. I ink blend three colors that I think are reminiscent of a really stunning sunset. I begin with Spiced Marmalade on the bottom of the panel, and then I move on to Crackling Campfire Red for the midsection. I blend the two colors back and forth until I get a smooth blend. Finally, for the top of the panel, I use Seedless Preserve, which is a darker reddish purple color. Once again, I blend the Crackling Campfire and Seedless Preserve back and forth to achieve that gradual transition between the two colors. When I am finished ink blending the panel, I also ink blend the decorative tab piece and the tab piece with the Seedless Preserve purple. Next, I squirt some Ranger Pearlescent paint, add a little bit of water, and use my paintbrush to make some splatters. This creates some glimmer in the sky. While I have my Distress Oxides out, I move on to ink blend the inner circle of the Magic Iris. This circle is what will be revealed when the Magic Iris is opened. I use the same three colors as I did on the Magic Iris add-on panel, but I add mustard seed for the bottom part of the circle to create the look that the yellow sun is setting. Before I heat emboss my sentiment, I use my anti-static tool to prevent any embossing powder from sticking where I don't want it to be, and use VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp out my sentiment that says, "Life's a picnic with you." This ink stamps out very crisply on pre-inked blended paper. I want the sentiment to come out shiny, so I stamp the sentiment again with VersaMark ink and sprinkle on some clear embossing powder. Finally, I use my heat tool to melt the powder to reveal the bright sentiment. I'm going to use the terminology that Kelly Marie Alvarez, the owner and creator of Lawn Fawn, uses to describe the Magic Iris elements. First, I die cut 3 of these rings. We will use the flex capacitor die in my right hand to die cut some notches and brackets in just one of the 3 rings. We need 3 of these sausage-shaped pieces, 2 tab pieces, 3 stabilizer pieces, and the decorative tab piece. First, I line out the circular area of the flex capacitor die with the circular center of one of the ring pieces, and I run this through the die cutting machine. What we get now is a ring with 3 notches and 3 brackets. I'm going to put this aside for now and move on to working on the sausage pieces of the Magic Iris. I ink blend some Fossilized Amber Distress Oxide onto each of the 3 sausage pieces. Next, I insert the tab end of the sausage pieces into the notches in the ring. Here, I take the second of the sausage piece with the little tab and insert it into the notch. I do the same thing with the 3rd sausage piece. The curve of the sausage pieces fall in line with the curve of the ring. On each of the sausage pieces, there is an embossed X that marks the spot. On each of these 3 X's, I place a 3/16 of an inch or mini glue dot. The glue dots have to be 3/16 of an inch in size in order for the magic iris mechanism to work properly. Next, I take another ring, make sure everything is lined up, and place it right on top of the sausage pieces. I turn this ring upside down so that I can see the 3 brackets on the bottom ring and take out my 3 stabilizer pieces. I place my tape runner on the bracket from the inside of the circle and pull the tape runner straight out towards the outside of the ring. I do this for all 3 brackets. There is a slight curve on the ends of the stabilizers. I line the curve of the stabilizer up with the curve of the brackets. I flip the ring over and glue the 2 tab pieces together to make the tab sturdier, since the tab opens and closes the magic iris and is handled a lot by the card's recipient. With one of the stabilizers pointed towards me, I position the tab snug next to the stabilizer so that a V is formed between the stabilizer and the right tab. I then use my tape runner on the curved half of the tab and adhere the tab on the ring. I use my tape runner on all 3 stabilizers, place the 3rd ring on top, and gently fold over each stabilizer. The stabilizers should not be folded over too tightly, nor should they reach the curve on the other side. Otherwise, the magic iris mechanism will be too tight and it won't work. I flip the magic iris over and fold in each of the sausage tabs. Now I can test out my magic iris, and it opens and closes smoothly. I take out my Spiffy Speckles 6x6 inch petite paper pack, select a purple piece of patterned paper to match the Seedless preserve, and use the largest of the large stitched rectangle Stackables to die cut a panel. I put the magic iris in the closed position and line the tab of the magic iris behind the add-on panel. Once it is in good position, I hold and flip over everything and run my tape runner over each of the 3 stabilizers only. Then I bring back the 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch Spiffy Speckles panel, center the magic iris and the add-on panel over it, and stick it down to the Spiffy Speckles paper. I put the magic iris in the open position, glue down the ink blended sentiment circle from earlier. I want to make sure that I have everything lined up because my goal is to have it look like the critters are watching the sun set below the horizon line as the magic iris opens and closes. Now for the fun of assembling the card. I glue down the Grassy Hillside, adhere the stitched Hillside on top of it, and begin to put my scene together. Once I am finished, I flip my card front over and cut off the excess hanging off the panel. I place foam tape on the Spiffy Speckles panel, being careful not to put any adhesive near the magic iris. I periodically open and close the magic iris just to make sure nothing is interfering with the mechanism. I also place some tape runner over the stabilizers of the magic iris, and then I carefully position the card front over the magic iris. Last, I add on the decorative tab and the arrow that indicates to the recipient that this is an interactive card. I just love how much fun the magic iris is to play with. When the magic iris is closed, it looks like the sun has yet to start setting. But once the magic iris is opened, it appears as though the sun is setting below the horizon line. For the card base, I take a 5.5 by 8.5 inch piece of accent opaque 120-pound cardstock, score it at the midway 4.25 mark on the 8.5 inch side. I add some liquid glue onto the card front and I adhere it to the card base. And here we have it, my finished card. This interactive magic iris card features a sweet squirrel couple enjoying a cozy picnic whilst taking in a stunning hazy orange and purple sunset. Thank you so much for joining me today in this card making tutorial. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I hope that you will join me again next time. Have a great day, everyone, and happy crafting! Bye-bye!